Hello, everyone. My name is Rochelle Innocent, and I'm the founder and CEO of Project Purpose. Welcome to our channel. Our community is focused on fostering the intellectual and character development in children. We do this through our parent-child workshops that are focused on 4 themes: autonomy, self-efficacy, compassion, and self-concept, in order to cultivate grit, perseverance, and resilience in each child. And we are so thrilled to be offering one of the first of its kind digital, virtual, and continuous learning environments, enabling parents and children to connect from all around the world. At Project Purpose, our overarching mandate is to renew and rebuild family, community, and relationships. Our different social media platforms provide us with an opportunity to have discussions and to create space on all topics that relate to family, community, and relationships with ourselves as well as with others, with a primary focus on mental health and education. More precisely, the ways that the institutions of mental health and education play a role and have played a role in our societies at large. These discussions and debates provide us with an opportunity to think critically about what needs to change within these structures for us to live up to our bold slogan: support, protect, and empower each child through youth-focused development, better known as leadership in juvenescence. We recognize that in valuing our children's leadership potential, this also translates in recreating and co-creating environments, both socially and politically, that will enable our children to thrive. For those of you who are particularly keen on the topic, we also write thought pieces every other Sunday. We actually just dropped the thought piece this past Sunday, so be sure to meander over to the website and check out our online content. Now, if it is the case that you are looking for a listening alternative, well, we're available on 12 different podcast platforms for your listening leisure, and we've provided you with access to the links in the description down below. Now, as is the convention, be sure to subscribe, hit that post notification bell so that you are aware of every time you post. And of course, if you like these conversations and you want to keep them going, like, comment, and share this segment. Let's get into it. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another segment here on Project Purpose. For those of you who are new, we cover topics that relate to mental health, mental wellness, and education on a week-by-week basis. And today our topic of discussion is mental wellness. Now, this is the time of year where I like to commence my year in review, so I thought, why not do that with all of you? I'm not going to go through the specific milestones or moments in my life, but I would like to give you the rubric and the fundamental building blocks that build into my year in review. It's a bit of an after-action review on the year past, and then based on those experiences, based on those learnings, those achievements, some of the areas that it has opened up by way of growth or areas that I like to pursue or curiosity now that I have, how is that going to influence the way that I plan my energy for this upcoming year? So, given that I'm already in the state of mind and I've started this deep reflection and I'm starting to build a bit of a draft as to what I want 2023 to look like for me, I figured why not have the conversation with all of you. So, when it comes to a year in review, here are some do's and don'ts. The focus is really on growth. This is your opportunity to acknowledge yourself, acknowledge the change that you should experience more or less from who you were at the beginning of the year and who you are now, and start to delve into what people, what places, what experiences or opportunities influence the change you see and feel and experience in yourself right now. And if whether that change is something that you think is positive or negative, what are you going to stop, start, and continue doing to pivot or to further reinforce the change that you see within yourself? So I'm a firm believer that we're always in a process of growth or regression. So if we're not growing, we are regressing, we are organic human beings. There is no such a thing as steady state. right? There's no such a thing as staying in place. So even if you're someone who likes routine, you like things to be fairly stable, you're a bit of a steady Eddie, you're still growing, right? So despite ourselves, we are always growing. So why not push the needle on that growth and be a little bit intentional and be a little bit mindful about the growth that is taking place within us, so that we're happy about the people that we're becoming and we are consciously and intentionally building that person from within. And I think that that's what this time of year is really about. And I like to spend the latter part of November doing a bit of a year in review, and then the beginning part of December drafting out the theme for 2023 and building out the goals that correlate and coincide with that. And I start to get myself positioned or organized to really hit the ground running for 2023. So I do take New Year's very seriously. If you don't know, it is my favorite holiday. It is my favorite time of the year. I am someone who adores goals. I love goals. I love putting themes to my goals. I love having, just my energy organized into different spaces and always being very aware of how I want to tackle my day, how I want to tackle my week, my month, and of course, my year. So one thing that I think is really important when it comes to building goals and setting the tone for your year is recognizing what's keeping you playing safe. And I think that this is super crucial because sometimes we build goals that we know for sure we're going to achieve, and we feel good about them, but we're playing it safe. And I think sometimes we play it safe because there's this voice in our head telling us to be reasonable. And I need to talk about this little voice in your head that speaks about being reasonable and and speaks about what's realistic and speaks about what's out of scope for you. And I strongly believe that this is influenced by just a lot of societal expectations built on patriarchal archetypes, right? And I think that sometimes if you really want to give yourself the space to build a goal, you need to readjust what reasonable looks like. And the reasonable person's measure by way of the collective voice, the collective understanding of reasonable, is really the voice of the majority. It's the dominant voice in our society. And the dominant voice in North American society is definitely a patriarchal voice. Reasonable means self-sacrifice. Reasonable means compromise. Reasonable means not now, maybe later. And those are not what we want to start our year thinking about. I think reasonable means, how do I position myself to strive for the things that I care for without exposing myself to undue risk? How do I make sure that the sacrifices that I'm making to achieve my goals aren't detrimental to myself or the people who, are attached to me or are attached to my story or my journey in some certain way? Reasonable for me more so is rational thinking about the appropriate steps, the appropriate timelines. But reasonable isn't about compromise. It's not about being self-sacrificing, and it's not about being the martyr or being the person who puts themselves and their needs and desires aside to satisfy the status quo. All of that rings very much like the voice of the patriarchy, and that is really not a good look for anybody. I don't think it helps anybody to build from their sense of inner potential and to give themselves permission to do something daring, to be bold, to do something that keeps them out of their box. And I'm someone, I've mentioned before that I'm definitely a why not person, not a why person. I would rather have the experience and then be able to document that to myself as to whether or not it was something that I will continue to do or probably never expose myself to again. Unless we're talking about food. I'm pretty conservative about food. But in most cases, I am down for whatever. And I've had a few people kind of push back and speak to, the privilege of being single, or the privilege of not having strings, or the privilege of not being rooted. And those are decisions, right? And I think that it always makes sense to think ahead from the place that you are now, but there is nothing that is out of scope based on your current situation. And I think that is something that a lot of people leverage. It's my current circumstance limits me from, achieving this desire, achieving that goal, being this person. And it doesn't. It might change the way that you approach it. It might change the timelines associated with it. But the only thing that limits you from the version of you would like to be, or the version of you would like to see, is yourself. And I think that we need to hold ourselves accountable to that and stop using these narratives around, perceived privilege or perceived liberation or perceived circumstantial, benefits as the reason why we're not pursuing the things that mean something to us. It might mean that the journey we take is unconventional, that the path that we blaze is a little bit arduous, but it doesn't ever mean, where you are right now never translates as you having absolutely no cause to try. I think there's always an opportunity to try and always an opportunity to iterate and to do it the way that your situation allows, right? And I think that that's a very important message, because too many people don't do things because they say that their situation disallows them from doing it, but maybe it disallows you from doing it the way that you perceive it requires to be done, but then that requires some creative thinking, right? And it's up to you to think creatively about how you can still accomplish the things that mean something to you. Time is of the essence, right? And our time is not borrowed, but it definitely isn't something that is up for grabs. It shouldn't be wasted. And I think that's why I like setting goals. I like to be intentional with my time. I like to be mindful with my time because I value my time a lot. And I really am someone who I'm deterred, and I think I'm a little bit turned off by conversations where people spend their time doing things that don't bring them joy, or doing things that they know will never bring them joy, and then call it circumstance instead of their own lack of drive and personal ambition, really. And that sounds really judgmental, and it's not supposed to be judgmental, but it's supposed to be a little bit triggering, because I'm hoping that this video lights a little bit of a fire under you and you set goals that are unreasonable. And I think that those are the best goals to set, because they help you step out of your comfort zone, step out of your box, and push towards the things that really matter to you. And the one thing that I will say, and this is going to be my second video this week on alignment, is even if it means that like you're struggling, even if it means that you're subject to hardship, that relationships change, that the environment that you're in changes, this peace comes from being aligned with what you know you want to put your energy into, even if the process is a little bit less ideal than what you care for. So I really don't care for ideal. I don't care so much for comfort, so much for conventional or traditional. I care for personal, right? I care for personal, for writing a story that is unique, that is me, and that really speaks to my dedication to living my best life the best way that I know how, and that is day by day, minute by minute, but planned. Right? So amongst the uncertainty, the complexity, the volatility, and ambiguity that life offers, I can bring clarity, vision, understanding, and agility by being focused, intentional, and mindful. And of course, by discarding this idea of being reasonable, instead to be rational with the timelines I establish and the steps that I see are possible to achieving the things that I want to achieve for me. So this is sort of the call to action to you as you think about your year in review, as you think about who you are now, the things that have influenced that becoming, and what you would like to influence the becoming that you would like for yourself, right? So if a lot of your becoming was influenced by external factors unbeknownst to you, you were a bit caught in a storm, all of us have those phases in life, that's okay. Brush it off and think about, well, how do I inform my becoming in this next chapter in my life? That is it for today, but hopefully not all. My little rah-rah to you as you think about your year in review, as you pivot towards your year ahead, which is soon, right? 2022 is almost over, and kudos to you. I know you're gonna build a roadmap that is exciting, that is going to give you a thrill and give you a bang for your buck. Now that is it, but definitely not all. Now before letting you go, I would be remiss if I didn't let you know that we will be going live at least twice a month, every month for the foreseeable future on our Facebook page, so definitely be sure to tune in. Now these events are paid events, so if you do see yourself participating in our community, our Game Changer community on an ongoing basis, then I do suggest that you take a look at one of our package plans. Yes, so we do offer package plans over and above our live events that give you unlimited access to the live events, by the way, as well as access to webinars and workshops largely focused on self-mastery over and above those events. So we're here to give you a skill-based approach to meaning and fulfillment, and we hope that you join us along the ride and give us an opportunity to contribute in a small way on your journey. I'm gonna let you go with that. We are on the road to 1K across all of our platforms, so definitely be sure to subscribe, be sure to follow us, and I look forward to chatting with all of you very soon. We'll talk to you later.
Just feel like no one's listening.